Okay, here's a couple other things we talked about that you need to know. So I'm going to play a C9 chord. Start out with a C dominant seventh. 1, 3, 5, 7. And there's the 9. It's one more from C. So we talked about this last week. So if we take the root out, so no C, take the 5th out, I have the 3rd, the 7th, and the 9th left. And that is a basis for a rootless chord voicing of a C9. Now, I'm playing a blues, so that's my 1 chord. I want to go to the 4 chord. That's an F9. Okay, well, I don't want to do this to this. It's too much. So I'm going to figure out that thing with that dominant 7th cycle you did, with the 3rd and the 7th, and I'll just move these 2 notes, E and B flat, down a half step, chromatically. Okay? So if you hear it in context, I just went from the 1 chord to the 4 chord by just moving my fingers chromatically down a half step. Okay, so the 3rd and the 7th for this chord is the 7th and the 3rd for that. 3rd and 7, 7, 3, 3, 7, 3, 7, 3, 3, 7, 7, 3. So anyways, that's my F chord. I'm going to add this note, which is really a 13. Some people call it an add 6, but it's called the 13. So it's 7, 3, 13 in F. All right? You see my hands, my left hand? I just moved it down like that. Now I'm going to go to the G chord, which is the 5 chord in this blues. So if I take this and go up a half step and another half step, I got my G chord. So I have this 1, 4, and 5. The 1 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord. And that works. Now, just so you know, we'll be doing more of that stuff, but that's how piano players go from 1 chord to the next chord. I sent you an example of a 12-bar blues, and I'm going to play it for you, and I noticed that I wrote the accents on beats 1 and 3. It's like 1, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. If you hear the way it sounds, there you go. That's the 1 chord. Going to the 4 chord. Back to the 1 chord. 5 chord. 4 chord. 1 chord. And here, that part is called the turnaround. It goes from the 1 chord to the 5, 7, back to the 1. Why? Because you see a repeat symbol, but it also just takes you back to the beginning of the song. And that's a turnaround. You need some chords to take you back. In the old days, they would do songs that, like in the 1950s, they'd go from the 1 chord to the minor 6 to 4 and 5. And that's your turnaround chord. We'll talk about that later. Now, here's how this goes. And I'm doing it as a shuffle. It says a swing feel, but I'm doing it as a shuffle. And I'm doing the accent of 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's how it sounds. And you want to play it like this. Oh, and also I wrote at the top where it looks like it says dotted 8th, 16th, dotted 8th, 16th. Yeah, so when you see a lead sheet or a jazz chart, you see it's not really played like that. If it'll just say a swing feel, you want to give it that feel. So check it out. It's the blues. Just repeat and play it all over again. That's example 1. Example 2 is a version where the 1 chord goes to the 4 chord, back to the 1 chord for 2 measures. 2 measures of 4 chord, 2 measures of the 1 chord. Measure 5, measure of 1, 4, and then 1, and then there's your turnaround at the end, which I wrote turnaround. Sounds like this. Okay. This pattern is used for rock and roll. It's used for a shuffle. You're hearing the root and the 5th of that chord in a C chord, C and G, and then the root and the 6th. So I'm going. So there's your basic rock and roll, blues, piano thing. Now the next thing we did was C Jam Blues by Duke Ellington. Here's the C Jam Blues by Duke Ellington, where you see the melody is in the top. And it should be accented. Okay, that's all it is. Bottom, those chords I told you about. 3rd, 7th, and the 9th. Here's the 3 to the 6th, E minor 7 to A7, sharp 5, if I just did this, C7, A7, D7, G7, I got my little turnaround. So. So that's the turnaround, and now you hear what that sounds like, C Jam Blues.